Anonymous credentials. Anonymous credentials allow users to prove that their identity satisfies certain properties in an uncorrelated way without revealing other identity details. These properties can be raw attributes such as their birthday, their address, or a more sophisticated property like A is older than 18 years old. We assume three parties: the issuer, the prover, and the verifier. These can be single-use or multi-use credentials, which can then be used for a set of attributes more than once. The functions of a basic anonymous credential system. To achieve the necessary interactions, an anonymous credential system should incorporate the following: an issuing protocol. This is where an issuer calls this function to generate a signature suitable for use in a credential and returns it to the prover. And then a verifying or proving protocol. A verifier calls this function to test whether a credential correctly verifies under the issuer's public key. A zero knowledge proof. This is a method by which one party, the prover, can prove to another party, the verifier, that something is true without revealing any information about the fact except for the statement that this is true. We're now going to discuss the construction of three different anonymous credentials. Anonymous credential light. This is a scheme proposed by Baldmitsi and Lisinskaya's paper in 2013, and it is based on the principle of blind signatures with attributes. This scheme generates computationally efficient credentials that can then be used once unlinkably. The scheme relies on a trusted third party to issue the credentials. An implementation of this scheme has been tailored for payments in transportation systems as an electronic cash scheme. For the construction of an ACL, we're going to use an example where a user wants to verify that their age is above 18 in order to view some content. The user sends a commitment, which is a zero-knowledge proof that their age is correct without actually revealing their age to the issuer. And the issuer sends a blind signature on this commitment back to the user. The user then sends the commitment and the blind signature for verification to the verifier. The verifier confirms this with the issuer along with the issuer's public key, and the issuer returns true if the signature provided is valid, thus verifying that the user is above the age of 18, and the verifier can then grant the user access to the online content. Analysis of anonymous credentials light. The scheme is efficient and lightweight as the length of the credential is linear to the unlinkable users. The user cannot reuse a credential. Instead, they must go through the entire process of getting a new credential issued, even if it is for the same set of attributes. And the issuer signs the credential without seeing the attribute values. So even if they colluded with the verifier, they could not identify the user. Thus, zero knowledge.
Now we are going to discuss key verification anonymous credentials. An approach to maintain group relationships in any messenger app is discussed in one of the paper, The Signal Private Group System and Anonymous Credentials Supporting Efficient Verifiable Encryption 2020. The paper talks about how private groups are created in messenger apps. Basically, private group information is available to all members of the group, but hidden to anyone outside the group. The group membership is stored by users in an encrypted form on a server. Clients can then query the server to view the latest information, and server can apply access control rules to do group updates. Now we are going to view one of the system overview using a diagram. So basically, let's assume like there are three entities, Alice, Bob, and server. Now Bob generates his profile key and saves it with the server as profile key commitment. Now profile keys are used to encrypt the profile, avatar, names, and other such data. Now profile keys can be shared among users. For example, here Bob trusts Alice, so Bob shares his profile key with Alice. Then Alice uses the profile key shared by Bob to request the profile key credential for Bob from the server. The thing to note about here is Alice does not have to identify herself to the server. It means like the identity of Alice will be anonymous to the server. The server then issues a limited time or credential to any of the users who ask for it. So basically, these credentials can be used to provide a zero knowledge proof to the server that the credential matches an encrypted entry in the server. So now Bob and Alice both request a limited time out credential from the server. Alice then creates a group with herself and Bob as members by generating a group master key and derive group public params from it, and then registering their params with the server. Alice will also upload a pair of UID ciphertext, profile key ciphertext for herself and Bob. Alice sends Bob the group master key. Bob can use the auth credential to download the group entries and later use the master key to decrypt it. Now, in the analysis of KVAG, the server in the system can neither decrypt group entries nor forge new entries. When a malicious user tries to insert invalid ciphertext or inconsistent UID, then the server can stop responding to such users. Sometimes a user may acquire a group master key and leave the group. In this case, the user retains the ability to collude with the server to encrypt and decrypt entries. In this case, automatically a new group master key should be created and distributed among all members of the group. If the malicious user is within the group, then no security is possible in such case. The server is assumed to be honest in this scheme. This helps to prevent malicious users to forge authentication and violate server access control rules.
For card-based anonymous credential, there are many suggestions for card-based implementation. However, most of them fail to provide visual authentication because the information given to the verifier will be text or some number. This does not provide any information to the verifier that the holder actually holds that credential and did not use somebody else's credential. This is also known as mismatch attacks. One of the newest approach which has been proposed earlier this year is to add visual authentication to the smart card. It consists of 4 parties: the card, the holder, the card issuer, and the credential issuer. First, the holder gets a card from the card issuer. Then together with the holder, they can get their credential from the credential issuer. During this process, the credential issuer will also blindly sign the card ID as well as other attributes. This makes the card ID unknown to everybody except for the card issuer, and it is also mandatory for the card to be present during the transaction to provide the actual ID. This is the overview of the card-based with visual authentication system. However, this approach has 2 limitations. First, like most of the card-based implementation, the limited computational power of the card limited the number of credentials it can be stored. Also, the more credentials the card stores, the more time it takes for it to retrieve any credential. Second, the system also assumes that this verification process happens in person to prevent the network attacks.
Security in anonymous credentials. There are 2 principles that ensure security in anonymous credentials: unlinkability and unforgeability. Unlinkability or blindness means that even upon seeing 2 signatures obtained this way on commitments of his own choice, the issuer cannot link a signature to its issuing. This is satisfied by the decisional Diffie-Hellman assumption. And unforgeability means that a user cannot produce more signatures than they were issued, and this is satisfied under the discrete logarithm assumption for sequential composition. In conclusion, anonymous credentials provide a safe way for users to prove an attribute like their age or membership in a group without revealing information about their identity. They are efficient and secure. However, this may change when quantum computing is fully actualized into everyday computing and hard problems like the discrete logarithm problem are solvable. Thank you.